we're like living in this genocidal hellscape is what I feel like we're in. I mean, how are you dealing with it? Like, I feel like I cannot stop thinking about this all the time. Like, I feel like I cannot stop. Like, I've been just doing nonstop research, nonstop, like everything I can do to know everything I can know. And I don't see this ending anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't see it ending anytime soon either. So I guess keep researching, keep doing whatever you're doing right now, because I think it's going to be something that we have to talk about for a really long time, unfortunately.
Well, and the thing is, and my husband actually asked me, he's like, is this going to be some sort of like Vietnam thing? And I'm like, no, that's Ukraine. This is going to not be able to take that long, because quite honestly, how long can people live? You know, you're not like, I don't think like it doesn't really matter how long, if they're not being bombed or what's going on, because even if you just turn off the water and people don't have resource, how long can people live? I'm looking at, there's going to be like 1 million dead people within another couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a genocide, as you guys were saying. I don't know if people realize that now. I think that, you know, some people are in denial or ignorant. Other people are just cynical and bad people, and they know that, and they don't really care. And they're happy to see Israel ethnically cleanse Gaza. So, yeah, it's really disturbing. And you just have to try to do whatever you can to raise people's awareness about what's happening.
I mean, do you see, like, to me, the fundamental basis of the language of how people are talking about it is very, very symbolic of their thoughts on it. Like, this is not a war. This isn't a conflict, right? Like, that's not real. That's sort of in their make-believe mythology, wherein we were all taught that the Arabs all want to kill us, which now they might in that area. I don't blame them. I would want to as well. But like,
well,
you know,
fine. I mean, the people there, yeah.
But so that's the thing. So like, if you're born in captivity, this is something that I have to, you know, keep reminding people. If you're born in captivity and all you know of your oppressor is that it's a Jewish state,
right?
You know, there's not going to be a lot of love there. And so and from what I'm understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, the reports have been that they have been treating hostages, well, the ones that I guess aren't getting bombed by Israel, but that hostages are being treated, I guess, humanely and kindly. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, the ones that have been released have confirmed that. Obviously, not all of them have been released. Some have been killed. There's a lot of fog of war. But yeah, there are people who talked about like, there was one woman who they came into her house and they wound up leaving, but they, you know, asked if they could have a banana. They were like calming the kids down. They said, we're not going to hurt you because we're Muslim, but you can't say any of that or report any of that, because then you're being Hamas sympathizers, and Hamas is like ISIS, is what people like to say.
Yeah, I keep referencing, you know, bringing people back to that. This is not the equivalent of, you know, people say Israel has a right to defend itself. And I agree, Israel does have a right to defend itself. And if Israel were attacked by a sovereign nation, I would suggest that they would be able to defend themselves. But this is more akin to a slave rebellion, or people in a concentration camp breaking out and, you know, just seeking some sort of self-determination. And so to refer to this as if it's a conflict is just, that's the first, and I feel like the primary problem in how people are seeing this.
Right. I mean, one side is living under occupation and a blockade. Another real piece of misinformation that we hear again and again is that Israel pulled out of Gaza, Israel left Gaza. They are subjecting Gaza to a blockade. It's a humanitarian crisis. I mean, you see Israeli politicians on TV saying there's no humanitarian crisis in Gaza. It's like unreal how dishonest the Israeli government is. And, you know, then if you say that, oh, you're perpetuating an anti-Semitic trope. Sorry. Powerful governments have evil people in them, whether they're Jewish or not. And Netanyahu is evil. And there's some good politicians out there. We spoke to one on Useful Idiots today, Ofer Kassif, who has been dismissed for 45 days by the Knesset for criticizing Israel's response to October 7th. He, of course, also wholeheartedly condemned what Gaza did, is very emphatic that there's no excuse for it. He sees it as not unpredictable, but he also thinks he doesn't justify it. But yeah, this is you know, the dissent, the crushing of dissent here and in Israel is also really stunning and disturbing, and everyone should be upset about it.
It's freaking me out. It's actually really scary. It's extremely like it's really, we're seeing like I look at our propaganda machine about Israel and it's like Goebbels did. Like this is like out of the Hitler playbook, like the way that they're putting out the propaganda. It's just off the wall. And that so many people are repeating the talking points is to be expected. You know, the people will just eat whatever is fed to them. But, you know, again, I find it very hard to condemn the actions of people that are living in captivity. You know, you can, if you can't come and go and somebody's controlling what goes in and out, that's a concentration camp. I mean, I don't understand how that's not considered a concentration camp. If you cannot leave and people cannot come in, and what is that?
Well, it's kind of, it's the same, you know, the simplest question to ask somebody, you know, for me as an observer looking on the outside in, if you can't admit at the bare minimum that Gaza is an occupied territory, then the conversation's over. It's not even worth having.
Well, that's the problem.
Right.
Is there's too many people that just don't see that baseline.
I don't know if they don't see it. I think they're just in total denial about it. I think at this point they have to be, just like they're in total denial that over 3,000 kids have been murdered already. And it's going to be a lot more. So at some point, you know, the question gets asked, well, how much of this are you willing to tolerate? And this whole argument about how, well, Hamas attacked us. Yes, Hamas attacked you. How did that happen in the first? It's the same thing about, well, why did Putin invade Ukraine? It's like, this doesn't just happen in a vacuum. But
that's how it's presented.
Of course it is. And it's been presented very effectively because that's all they talk about. It's just like CNN saying that, ooh, they were totally torturing the hostages. And one of the older hostages came out and said, no, actually, we were treated fine. This is, you know, it's politics, if you will. But the narrative has to be maintained, because if the narrative isn't maintained, you can't keep slaughtering everybody, because then eventually the narrative gets turned on you and there's no going back.
I think it's just, look, I mean, it makes sense to me why they don't like Jews. It does. They don't, especially people.
Well, because Israel is the place that constantly pretends that being Jewish and Zionist are interchangeable, which is ironically an anti-Semitic trope. And the people who like to insist that being Jewish is the same thing as being Zionist are anti-Semites who talk about the Zionist this, the Zionist that when they mean Jews, and people like the ADL, AIPAC, and Israel.
Yeah. Well, they obviously, you want to conflate it, because if you don't conflate it, then you can't constantly be playing the anti-Semitism card when people speak out against Zionism. But I'm just not taking this anymore. Like, I am rejecting it. I'm not letting anybody get away with that crap. I cannot deal with these people anymore. I am just like losing my mind.
Katie, what has been, you know, especially in your New York circle of Jewish friends, what has been the overall reaction to all of this, whether they're saying it publicly or not? Do most of them condemn what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, in New York, my friends in New York City are members of Jewish Voice for Peace. Or
are you a member? I'm a member.
Yeah, I am. So yeah, they've been getting arrested, going to demonstrations. I mean, my parents see it the same way I do. There are some older people who see it very differently. I think some older people and younger people really think that Israel makes Jews safe, and that without Israel, Jews would be at risk. And so whatever Israel does, even if it's not pretty, you need to do it. Like, that's, I think, the biggest.
Are you feeling safe? Is this making you feel safe?
No, I mean, it's a counterfactual, but also, yeah, obviously there's a lot. I mean, it's safer to be a Jew in America than it is to be a Jew in Israel. And what makes this whole thing so sad is, like, the whole state was created it wasn't because people cared about anti-Semitism. Like, the European powers that helped create the state, they kept their racist immigration laws on the books, even after World War II. They wanted Jews not in the United States, so they knew that they had to kind of like pretend to care. So they helped send them to Israel. And what's really sad is that I don't blame, like, if I had been a Holocaust survivor, I'm not saying I wouldn't have, if someone said, here, go here, maybe I would have gone there, but that doesn't make it right.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.